Hello, I'm Herb Halling, and my partner is Cindy. We've been making magnetic jewelry since 2002. After making the commitment to start making magnetic jewelry, we soon learned that the cost of the beads and the clasps made it difficult to sell our jewelry at a fair price. So we developed sources in China and started importing large quantities of magnetic beads and clasps. Today we think we are one of the largest suppliers of magnetic beads and magnetic clasps. This video is going to talk about the magnetic clasps. Magnetic clasps are made out of a rare earth mineral called neodymium. Neodymium is rare, and one of the few places on Earth that has an abundant supply is China. Because of this rareness, China has a monopoly on neodymium, and they control the price. In about 2008, China started raising the prices of neodymium to the point that a mine in California, near the California border and Las Vegas, could open and produce magnets at the higher price that China had established. China quickly lowered its prices, and the American mine is only producing neodymium magnets for high-tech components like hard drives and speakers. China is the only place that makes magnetic clasps, and the price has been relatively stable the last couple of years. Neodymium is a soft metal that will crumble between your fingers, so a hard barrier coat is placed over the neodymium. Back in 2002, the only magnetic clasps you could get were nickel-plated chrome, silver-plated, gold-plated, and a black epoxy over a nickel plate. A lot of people developed a reaction to the chrome nickel plate, and the silver plate would tarnish fast, and the gold plate got too expensive, and the black epoxy painted clasps would chip and look bad after a short period, so there was a need for a better clasp. About this time, my friend David, who sells magnets in China, and I came up with a new design. It's a proprietary plating we call gunmetal gray. The Chinese call it high knee, and it does not cause any reactions to the skin, and most importantly, is very inexpensive to make. Today, gunmetal gray clasps are the only clasps we inventory, and we have zero complaints over the last 10 years. Neodymium also comes in different grades that represent the magnetic strength. N35 is the most common grade of neodymium for most clasps. However, we have started making an N40 grade neodymium for our smaller clasps because the extra strength is sometimes needed on the smaller clasps. The larger clasps still use the N35 grade as they are strong enough, and in some cases are too strong. Clasps come in any size you want, but there are 5 different sizes that satisfy 95% of the clasp market. They are 6 mm diameter, a 7 mm diameter, an 8 mm diameter, a 6x6x12 rectangle 2-hole clasp, and a 6x6x18 mm rectangle 3-hole clasp. The 6 mm clasps are good for small, lightweight bracelets and all necklaces. With the N40 grade neodymium, they are strong and will not fall off. The 7 mm clasps are perfect for most bracelets. They are not too big looking on small bracelets, and they are big enough for really heavy bracelets with large beads. The 8 mm clasps are perfect for anklets. It is surprising how much shock goes into an anklet while walking. The 8 mm clasp is the only clasp we've found that will work consistently on anklets without falling off and getting lost. A lot of men want a wider bracelet, and we make a 2-hole and 3-hole clasp for their bracelets. The extra strength of the 2-hole and 3-hole clasps make it challenging to take the bracelet off, And the 3-hole clasps are so strong that if you allow them to come clashing together, they are so strong that they will self-destruct. We always instruct the user how to take the triple clasp bracelets on and off the wrist. With proper care, there are few problems with breakage. Now let's discuss how to put the clasps on the monofilament line. If you look closely at the clasp, you'll see that on one side there is a large hole, and the opposite side has a small hole. First, you begin by placing the monofilament in the small hole and let it come out the large hole. Next, you hit it with a cigarette lighter, and when the heat from the cigarette lighter hits the monofilament, it forms a ball on the end of the monofilament. Then you pull the cord, or the monofilament, back into the clasp, and it locks the clasp in place on the monofilament. Next, you place the second half of the clasp on the first half to ensure you have a proper pair of clasps. A common mistake is to use two halves with the same polarity, and then you find you have to make the piece of jewelry all over again from the beginning. A trick I like to use is to cut the end of the monofilament at an angle, creating a chisel-like point. This makes it easy to place the monofilament in the small holes of the beads as you string the beads on the monofilament. Now this is where your creative skills come into play as you assemble the beads on the jewelry. Magnetic jewelry is unique in the sense that almost any arrangement of beads that you put on, it always looks attractive to someone. In this case, I'm making an anklet with 5 by 11 millimeter twisted beads with 4 millimeter round beads separating them. I generally make anklets about 10 or 11 inches long, but I frequently have to size them to the individual. The next step is to take the clasp off one end that hasn't been attached and attach it to the other end. Now that all the beads are on there and both half of the clasps are in the proper position, I generally pull real hard on the cord and pull all the slack out, and then I trim the end so that there's about maybe 3/8 of an inch protruding, and I hit that with a cigarette lighter, creating a ball in which it's like a fuse that burns shorter and shorter, and you stop it just before it reaches the clasp. Then after it's had about a second to cool, slide the ball back into the clasp, and you're going to notice some little spaces in between the beads. When you fold the bracelet, it'll take up all that slack between the beads. Well, that pretty well summarizes the different clasps and how to put the clasps on the jewelry. If you're interested, you want to learn how to do some beading, go ahead and contact us at our website, or you can even give us a call and I'll be happy to talk with you. Phone number is 562-594-8265, and I'm in California on Pacific time, and the best time to call is in the afternoon.